Okay, good day everyone. For today's presentation, the title of my research is The Experience of Conversion from Drug Addiction Among Selected Christian Preachers. And to begin with, this study through the description of the experience of my co-researchers aims to add some written accounts on the conversion experience of some members of the church, the people of God. It hopes to lead people in the life of holiness and to make them realize the goodness of God in all things. This study also aims to help improve the programs for the spiritual growth and development of adults in the rehabilitation process. The central purpose of this phenomenological study is to elucidate the co-researchers' experience of addiction and conversion, specifically the experience of getting out of drug addiction and into a grace-filled of life of conversion as experienced by selected Christian preachers. Furthermore, this study has the following purposes. First, examine and describe the co-researchers' experiences of drug addiction and conversion by identifying the themes and insights from those experiences. Second, identify the implications of this understanding of conversion to religious and values education, especially among young adults or students. Henceforth, we tend to ask the following questions. The statement of the problem: how do the participants describe their experience of addiction? Second, how do the participants describe the process of conversion from addiction? And third, how do the participants bring out the experience of conversion from drug addiction? And last, how can the learnings, themes, and insights be integrated adequately in the field of religious and values education? In order for us to get through the in-depth experience, let me present to you the following, or the method that we used in this study. As per the methodology, research design, this study is qualitative research using the transcendental phenomenological approach of Moustakas framework. This approach involves the use of personal experiences, life story interviews, interactions, and reflections. This framework provided the basis of this paper to get a structural analysis that will extract the essence of the experiences. From there, general meanings and derived themes were formulated, including the symbolic representation of the co-researchers' description of their life experiences. With regard to my co-researchers, they are 30 to 45 years old, males and known members of the Christian faith community who have been out of addiction for 5 to 10 years. All of them are preachers, 2 from Catholic Church, another 2 from the Christian Church, and 1 pastor from Evangelist Christian Church. They were given pseudonyms to secure the confidentiality and privacy of their identity. Preparation of the questionnaire. The researchers prepared a self-made questionnaire validated by experts centering on their experiences of drug addiction to conversion. An interview guide was also utilized to draw answers from the co-researchers. After the co-researchers shared their life and lived experiences, we employed the bracketing process to allow the experience of the phenomenon to be explained in terms of its intricate system of meaning based from the approach of Moustakas. This study followed the following process. First, we listened to the co-researchers' stories, wherein we put up the details of their story in a narrative form and related themes were reflected upon. Second, we derived collective themes and reflections as observed and reflected upon the co-researchers' feelings, thoughts about the experiences of addictions and conversions. Third, we formulate insights to give or justify summary of meanings and essences or essence of experiences of the respondents. And fourth, we consult the co-researchers for a symbolic representation that summarizes or defines the whole lived experience and deriving insights and reflections from the whole experiences. And lastly, we formulate a creative synthesis to summarize the whole experiences. After the whole bracketing process was done, we return the results to the co-researchers for their affirmations, remarks, and comments until they validated and affirmed a final set of brackets of their lived experiences. With regard to the chapter 4 and 5, the results and discussions, here are the transcriptions and the stories of my co-researchers' experience in the phenomenon. First story, I named him Preacher A, or I usually call him the Zacchaeus of Silang Cavite. A little background of his story, he has a broken family. He felt the need to be in constant relation with others. His experience of living without a father figure was like searching for light in the midst of darkness. For the second story, Preacher B, I called him the raising of Lazarus. He was physically abused. The punitive way of correcting his mistakes created a loop of loneliness, and it led to the reiteration of what were said and occurred in the past. It led him to choose the life of addiction and create a comfort zone away from the punitive world. And for the third story, Preacher C, Saul on the road to Imus. He has been in a family curse. He believed that the chain of judgments passed through generation to generation. He was molded in a form of vengeance and rebelliousness. Addiction became a way to escape the pain inflicted during his childhood days. For the next story, Preacher 4, Preacher D, Dismas of Dasmariñas, Cavite. His addiction story started in a financial issue. While suffering from addiction, his family was torn into pieces. He cheated and stole money from his wife, and he never considered their poor lifestyle just to satisfy his addictions. And the last story, Preacher E, the prodigal son. In his high school days, all his focus and attention were spent in the life of pleasure and selfishness. He lost his focus in the academe and abused the illiteracy of his parents. The experience of rejection tolerated his bodily desires and addiction to different vices. From the story of our co-researchers, we collected 9 themes. Theme 1, I feel homesick in my own house. There is a family curse that chained them in the realm of addiction. Second theme, I want to feel at home in my second home. It pertains to the school system. The punitive way of correcting their mistakes, it just add up to their loneliness and afflictions. Third theme, I build my own house, the building block of my own wounds. This is now the state wherein the comfort and belongingness are important. They are enjoying the negative influences of friends and vices, the place where they feel secured and appreciated. Fourth theme, the higher the pleasure, or the higher the pressure is, the higher the pleasure becomes. It speaks of accumulated pains and all the rejections that they've been through. These are diverted into something pleasurable in order for them to feel that they are still alive. Fifth theme, Evil is the absence of goodness. They are no longer in control of their actions and emotions. They do whatever their desires ask them to do. They also experience a total blackout. Theme 6. Knocking on the damaged door. The first step to encounter the inner child. It is indeed the turning point of their experience. There is someone who makes them feel valuable, and it is the realization of their own goodness. Theme 7. I am the one who can cast out the lion's curse. No one can change them. They are 100% responsible in all their actions. Theme 8. Giving one big reason to change is giving them a lot of reasons to live. It conveys the importance of support system. This is necessary to assist and guide the drug addicts in their new identity in the society. And for the last theme, a genuine love. A genuine love of a childlike heart. The service to others is now a manifestation of their experience of conversion. All the themes were summed up in the eidetic insights and narrowed down into 4. From family curse to family blessings, from particularity of selfishness to universality of selflessness, from solidity of a rock to liquefy melted gold, and from mundaneness to transcendence. I gathered the symbols from my co-researcher's experience. For the symbolic representation, rosary, it signifies a symbol of mysteries as one co-researcher walked on the road to conversion. Every bead became a pattern that molded his attitude to be humble servant and be nothing without Christ. Eagle, the experience of being high on drugs has no difference in experiencing the goodness of God. A co-researcher was like flying like an eagle, living through overwhelming care, love, and mercy of God. Heart. It is the heart that matters. The core of everyone's existence is also a question of how much love put in whatever they are doing. Experiencing the love of God is a reciprocation of love to others. Egg. A co-researcher described his fragility as a person as the egg yolk. It symbolizes his inner goodness that was covered with stubbornness, pride, and addiction. He needed to be cracked. He needed to be cracked in halves to serve his purpose. And last, mud. A co-researcher described himself as nothing but mud, who needed to be held by someone's hand. His experience of being molded is a painful process towards becoming a well-shaped, humble path. And for the creative synthesis, I quoted it as the nails on the cross. And every letter has its own meaning. And it goes like this. Nails on the cross. Nuance of a painful memory in their childhood days. Allured from a sickening cry that never fades. In pains were like living in the house of AIDS. Listen to his anguish. Hatred was the only hay. So be high, for tomorrow will be another day. O culture of hopelessness, why are you promoting killing? Nothing good will happen if they never start the healing. When he came, a man who knocked on a wounded heart, His open wounds welcome the innermost pain and hurt, enlighten the inner child, and embellish a fruitful start. Crucifixion, looking at the foot of the cross like a centurion, rotten to the core because of selflessness and compassion. O people of goodwill, why have we forsaken him? Speak in tongues of fire as a humble beginning. Stand still, conversion is coming. For the conclusion of my study, the central purpose of this paper is to elucidate the experience of 5 adults who went from drug addiction to grace-filled life of conversion. The primordial element in the conversion experience is the openness of oneself to get in touch with the inner child. It is an encounter between themselves and their God on the cross, having the same sufferings and pains. Healing comes after as the desire of the good of others comes and transcends from selfishness to selflessness. Finally, the conversion experience leads to an intimate relationship with God where one is to remain a child who has nothing to be proud of. Everything is a grace of God. Indeed, the heart of a child symbolizes the genuine love to God, self, and others. To conclude, the experience of the conversion of preacher from drug addiction is a change of desires from earthly to spiritual. This is a new form of desire that can only be expressed with Jesus Christ. Being converted is not just to pray and believe in God, but rather an experience of pleasing Him and being in full contemplation with Him. Once again, I am Marco Paulo Digo. Thank you very much for listening. God bless us all.